So I am in the middle of my quiet time, and my son just gave me an interesting point of view. So, what he mentioned to me today, he said, "Mom, do you know what black pill is?" Now, it's not the son that was in the last video that was leaving to go work out. I have two sons, so this was my other son. He said to me, "Mom, do you know what black pill is?" And I thought, well, of course I know what black pill is. You know, I'm hip. I'm watching all the tickety talks and all the YouTube shorts and all the different, channels out there. And so I began to explain to him some stuff that I'd heard about Kevin Samuels, and his red pilling. He's like, "No, Mom, that's the red pill. That's different from the black pill." I said, "Well, okay, I think I'm familiar with the black pill too. It's kind of where young men have just decided to withdraw themselves from the dating market because they're just not satisfied with, what's out there on the market as far as females go." He said, "No, that's not quite it." I said, "You sure?" I said, "Because I'm pretty sure that's what it is." So he went and Googled it. And then he further gave me information. And so apparently the black pill is when young men, or men in general, I guess, have just decided that they are no longer going to participate in the dating market because it's pointless, it's hopeless. No, these men that are black pillars, I don't know what they call themselves, they have decided that it's better to just withdraw yourself from the marketplace because unlike what the red pill men think, in that you can work hard, you can get your status up by becoming a successful person, and then, women will be attracted to you. Black pill is that it doesn't matter how much money you make. Ultimately, women are only concerned about what you look like. And so if you don't look good, if you don't have the right height, the right build, the right chiseled jawline, nothing else matters. And so these people, men, have taken themselves out of the dating market because they feel they can't change their genetics. I was like, what? Now, I'm old school. You guys see the gray and you see the bags and everything I got going on. I try to be as transparent here as I can be. I apologize for that because I can look a little bit better than you guys have seen, but hey, I'm just trying to be real. I'm used to that being a woman's thing, right? We were all in the 80s and the 90s, probably the 70s too, and probably before then, the women, we were trying to make sure we looked a certain way because we were trying to make sure that we had marketplace value or whatever it is that they're calling it. So this is blowing my mind that the men in this black pill community feel that they are being judged by what they look like and that it doesn't matter how much money they have and it doesn't matter how much status they have, that if they can't fix their genetics, which most of them say they can't, then they're going to be out the game. So they might as well stay home, play video games, and watch porn. Yeah. Hi. So I said to my son, I said, "Well, what do you think? You don't believe in this, do you?" He's like, "No, Mom, I don't believe in that." I said, "Because you know that there are a lot of good women still out there." And my son looked at me like, "Come on, Mom. You're old, so I know you think that." And I was like, "What do you mean? There's good women everywhere." I said, "Don't get off that social media. It's only showing you just some of the perspectives that young women have. It's not showing you every young woman in the world. I'm sure there's going to be lots of young women that you will find and that they will like you and you will like them back." And he's like, "Well, I hope it happens before I turn 30. Oh, I was crushed. I felt so sad for him. So I'm wondering, have any of you guys heard about this black pilling? This is like red pill on steroids. It's not even red pill on steroids. This is something totally different from red pill. Because in my day, we used to say, as far as men go, it didn't matter what the man looked like, right? You would often say if a man was short, stand on your wallet, meaning that even if you were 5'5" or 5'2", it didn't matter as long as you have money. Somebody's going to want you. Honey, the black pillars are like, that's not true. And so my son also mentioned that there's this thing called looks maxing. And so looks maxing is when you try to take whatever genetics that you have, and you try to amplify it. And I think I heard him say that some people go as far as to break bones to get the jawline that they want, or to try to figure out how to make themselves taller. I did not know that. Child, we got to get these young folks off of this here internet, okay? Because these internet streets are not for the weak. And the funny thing is that you don't hear your children talk about this stuff until they've almost gotten to the point where they're, dare I say, brainwashed by it? I don't know if I like the word brainwash, but that they're like, really like, this is how it is. Because when he came to me saying that, I thought, that can't be true. And so I came back to my quiet time, and I'm not a very, very religious person of late. I used to be. But I have been drawn back to trying to read the Bible. And, I've got a lot of people saying, well, there's more Bibles than what you're reading. You need to make sure you're looking at all the information. And again, I got ADHD, and I hate to claim it because I know when you claim stuff, it's just like basically, cursing yourself with it. But again, I think ADHD has some superpowers as well. But anyway, I digress. What I'm trying to say is I'm sticking to this main Bible I know, the King James. That's the only one I know. Now, if the King James mentions another Bible, then I'll look at it, because I did see something about Jack, a book in here, and I thought, well, maybe I'll read that. But as far as me trying to go track down all the books of the Bible that didn't make it in the Bible, I think some of you might know what I'm talking about. I'm not doing all that, because my brain is not geared to be trying to do all that for something I'm not very, very interested in. Like, if I'm really interested in it, I will do a deep dive like nobody else. I will do a deep dive. But if I'm not that interested in it, I won't. So what I was saying is, you got to really talk to your kids, because you don't know what they're thinking and what they're understanding. You really got to talk to them. I had never heard of looks maxing and the the black pill. I'd heard of the black pill, but I thought it was just men deciding to just come out of the marketplace because they didn't like the caliber of women that were out there. But my son kept saying, why do they do that? Why are they saying that? And then he made me realize that they're saying this because they feel that ultimately all women care about is what you look like. So that's radically different from the red pill, which said, go get your paper up. Go get your success and your status up. Then you can pretty much do what you want to do. Now, black pill says none of that matters, because even if you get your paper up and even if you get your status up, she's going to cheat on you with somebody that looks good. How depressing to feel that way as a young man. Guys, we got to do better. We got to tap in. We got to see what's going on with our young men. We've been women powering it to the point that I think our young men are on life support. And I think it's time we tap in and we start saying, hey, what's going on? Because let's be real. We ain't going to have no society if we don't have any men. I don't care what all you feminist power women are saying out here. It's men out here doing all this heavy lifting out here. Let's be real. We could do it in some cases, but I don't think we want to. I don't think we want to climb to the top of telephone poles and some of these very tall buildings and do all the electrical work. I don't think there's enough of us that want to sign up for that. And all this, heavy oil, going out on the oil rig. So we need to chill, females. We need to chill. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. Oh, he also mentioned the blue pill. And so he looked up the blue pill with me, because I was like, what? I never heard no blue pill. He says the blue pill he says it's sort of like my generation, where we cared about personality. And I said, you mean character? He said, yes. He says, so the blue pill is, what's important is just the person's character. I said, well, that sounds like that's about right. I said, you need to get back to the blue pill. He says, well, but it seems like the world right now, the women are very much concerned about how much money you make and what you look like. I was like, wow. That is interesting. So I think we need to tap back in and try to help people understand that character really is what this is all about. Because looks fade, because we do get old. I'm a witness to that. Because I used to be kind of cute in my day, kind of cute, pretty with some makeup. You know how we do. But looks fade. Looks fade. And so you are left with your personality and your character. Because even money can come and go, believe it or not. But what can stay is that character, the core of who you really are. And so I just want to encourage young people, if there are any young people listening to me right now, to not be swayed by the foolishness that's going on in the world as far as dating, as jobs losses, and will I get a house. You will figure it out. Your generation is really smart. Gen Zers, you're really smart. Millennials, you guys are smart. You'll figure it out. Unfortunately, it's left to the Gen Zers to undo the damage that I think has happened through the decades in terms of the war between the sexes, the males against the females. It's almost left to Gen Z to sort it out, that they're having to take the brunt of this. But I'm encouraged because at least you guys are talking about it. They're starting to talk about it. Millennials and Gen Z, and I see some Gen Xers, Gen X here, they're starting to talk about it. They're starting to talk about how unfair it is for men in the court system and family court. They're starting to talk about women filing false claims for paternity and false claims of the R word. You know, apparently I can't say that on YouTube, which is ridiculous. We got to stop policing speech, people. We got to be able to say what we need to say. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah. And so they're starting to move towards men's rights, believe it or not, because women's rights have gone to the point beyond just having rights to the men have no rights. You know what I mean? So I was just like, wow, I have to talk about that today. And the last thing I want to share is that I was in my quiet time, back on, you know, the way my brain works, back to me talking about the Bible, is that I was telling my son how many wonderful women are out here, because we're pretty much conditioned to say that. And then I said to myself, after the conversation between my son and I was over, and I was, you know, doing my own reading, my quiet time, I said, well, Lord, what do you say? You know, quiet voice inside of me, what do you say? And, you know, that comes from above. And and so I looked it up, and then I found Proverbs 31:10, where the question is asked, who can find a virtuous woman? For her value is far above rubies, or her price is far above rubies. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. That's the gist of it. And I thought, I've always looked at it like a virtuous woman is very valuable. You want to go get one because that's what you need to have. She's very valuable. But then this time I looked at it and I realized, oh my gosh, they're rare. You can't find one easily. And that was like a sobering check for me. And so then I said, well, what does this mean? And then I felt in my spirit that I needed to go back to my son and say, hey, sorry that I was, you know, kind of coming down on you a little bit. And I really wasn't acknowledging your concern about maybe you won't be able to find you a young lady out here that likes you and that you like, and that you might not have that opportunity to find that. I said, I'm sorry if I sounded dismissive, because I just got through reading that you're right. Virtuous women are rare. And I didn't know that. They did not just become rare. They've always been rare. And so I told him what I'd read, and he's like, yep, that's pretty much right. I said, so the answer is to pray and ask your creator that made you to prepare a mate for you and to prepare you for her. I said, so start praying that. I said, you're a young man now. I said, start praying that. Start talking to that source that created you, and ask him to prepare you a mate. And I felt good about that answer. And so I said to myself, this is why quiet time is important. Because I almost missed an opportunity to speak wisdom to my son. Because I was caught up in the cultural understanding of life. And if somebody says to a woman, of which I'm a woman, you guys can tell, hopefully, I'm a woman. Maybe you can't tell, but I'm a woman. Lord, that ain't enough today, right, to just have breasts, but I'm a woman. And I was just responding like women respond. If you say, there's not any, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a good woman. I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet her needs. I don't know if I'm going to be able to be a good man. Well, as a mother of a son, you're going to say, oh, honey, you're going to be fine. You're wonderful. And oh, honey, there's tons of wonderful women out here. There's lots of wonderful women. I was just saying that. I wasn't really basing it on any data. I was just speaking emotionally. And then I came to this here Bible, and it told me something completely different. So I was able to go back to my son and clean that up. And it was good that I did, because I could see in his eyes that he sensed that, okay, mom hears me. She hears my heart. And I think I connected with him. And it could have been a missed opportunity, because I almost came off as if I was dismissing something that he knew in the core of his being to be true. Now, he didn't have a Bible verse for it, but he knew that it was true. I thought he was getting that from TikTok and from YouTube, but he really wasn't. He was seeing things on TikTok and seeing things on YouTube, but the core of his being told him that a virtuous woman is valuable and rare, and that he was going to have to do more than just go out and just happen to find one. And so now he has something to pray for. So hopefully this will draw him close into his own quiet time. And fun fact, that's kind of how I met my husband. I'll tell you about that later. But it was a wing and a prayer. And I was able to share that with him. I said, because this is how your father and I met. It was through prayer. I didn't just walk down the street and bump into him. He didn't just walk down the street and bump into me. It seemed like that, but there was prayer that went into that. And I'll tell you about that later, because that was a whole little thing. But yeah, that's all I got for you. I'm going to finish my quiet time here, and then I'm going to get up and go do some work. All right? See you later.